said, Ya Rasulullah, the only thing I've ever noticed about her is that when we used to cook dough and I told her to watch the dough, she used to fall asleep. And the ghost would come and eat it. I mean, if that's as bad as you can, if that's the worst thing you can do. I mean, think about that. He's asking her, tell me what's wrong. She goes, well, she talks about other people. She's negligent about her prayers. She's ungrateful. She's right. I mean, think of if somebody asked, if somebody asked somebody who knows you better than anybody else, tell me things that bother you about that person, and you have to be honest because it's the messenger of Allah. What are they going to say about you? Seriously, you think about that. What are they going to say about it? Because she's not telling a lie. She's literally saying, that's the only thing I've ever seen her do wrong. She used to fall asleep. And then she even gives her an excuse saying, kanat hadithat sin, she was young. In other words, younger people sleep more than older people. So she even gave her an excuse for that. And that was it. So the messenger, when he hears this, khalas, Usama's told him, and Ali didn't. He remained muhayyad. He didn't say yes, no, but he said, ask the person who would know more than anybody. So he did give him good advice, Sayyidina Ali. And that's what he did. And she said that. So the messenger of Allah went out he called the people together. They all come to the masjid, and he said, there are people saying bad things about my family. And I know nothing about my family except good. Because he's taken counsel, he's listened to the people, he's tried to find out. Because what he knew from her was good, but he wants to know, what about her peers? Because he's not with her day in and day out. He doesn't know everything about it. So he asked the people that would know, because he doesn't want to tell a lie to say that she's never done anything wrong, right? So he makes sure. And when he gets absolute certainty that Aisha has never done anything wrong, which means we should assume that she hasn't done anything wrong if we have no proof. Because there's nothing in the past. And this is what's called in Sharia, sawabiq. Because to accuse somebody of something, what is haram is to accuse somebody who has no past transgression. Right? In this country they say he doesn't have a record. Right? Whereas a person who has a record, for instance, if there's a house that gets stolen, and there's a man next door who has stolen before, then in that type of situation he can be questioned. Right? Because there's doubt there. There's a riba. In this case there's no doubt. So he tells that. Now, Sa'ad, right, this is because, again, even though we've gone after the Ahzab, this is before the Ahzab. Sa'ad stands up and says, Ya Rasulullah, if it's from the Aus, and he knows it's not. Sa'ad knows it's not. But what he's saying is, I don't have any bias here. If it's from the Aus, then I'll take care of him. And if it's from the Khazraj, I'll take care of him too. Right? In other words, he's letting them know, it's not because he's a Khazraji and I'm an Ausi. Because he knows who it is. It's Abdullah ibn Ubay. If it's an Aus, I'll take care of him. But if it's a Khazraji, I'll take care of him too. Sa'ad ibn Ubadah, who's a Khazraji, stands up and says, Kadhibta! You're telling a lie. You're just saying this because he's a Khazraji. And you won't take care of him because we'll take care of you. Now you can see the dissembling that this has had, the effect that it's had. It's splitting the community. And the Khazraj and the Aus are all starting to get ready to, and the Prophet ﷺ, he's trying to calm people down. So this is a major crisis in the community. And this is the evil of the tongue and what it can do and rip the hearts apart when suspicions enter into the tongue, which is why you have to cut the pretext. Whenever you hear something that's unfounded by Sharia, it's your responsibility to say, A'udhu billah, don't tell me that. It's haram for you to say. You have to stop it. Because by you allowing it to go, you're allowing the seed to grow. And it spreads, and then you have corruption in the heart. And so this is what's happening. At this point, the Prophet ﷺ he's extremely distressed. He goes to the house. He tells Aisha radiallahu anhu. The family's there. Aisha's in bed. Abu Bakr's there and the mother's there. And he says, Aisha, if you have done nothing wrong, then Allah will tell us. But if you have al-mamta, lamam is the least thing. If you did a lamam, which is just maybe thinking about something, some say it's dun al-fahisha. In other words, it's maybe talking with the person or been in an inappropriate situation. He's not accusing her. He's just saying maybe something inappropriate did happen. Right? Maybe you looked at him, maybe something, a lamam. And if that's the case, if you ask Allah forgiveness and make tawbah to Him, then He'll forgive you. She looked at her parents and she said, Ajiba Rasulullah, answer him. She can't believe what's happening. So she says, answer them. And they look at her and they say, Ma nadri ma naqul. We don't know what to say. So she's thinking all these things, and then she says, if I say that I didn't do it, and Allah knows I didn't do it, then you won't believe me anyway, because you've listened to all what these people are saying. And you've already condemned me, because she feels just the fact you're even asking me means that you've allowed this thing to affect you. And she says, and if I admit, which is seemingly what you want me to do, then I'm telling a lie, and I can't do that. And then she said, I was a young girl and I couldn't remember much of the Quran. And I was trying to remember Yusuf's father's name, Yaqub. She couldn't remember it. And so she says, so I can only say like Abu Yusuf, the father of Yusuf, said, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانَ عَلَى مَا تَصِفُونَ. I can only be patient, and Allah gives help over what you're describing about me. And the ulama say that this is, the mu'min does not defend himself. That a mu'min, and this is something the qawm take very seriously, that the mu'min is not somebody that should defend himself, because defending yourself is ru'yat an-nafs. It's believing there's something to defend. And so for her, for Aisha, she doesn't care. And this is iman. She's saying, Allah al-Musta'an, I'm just going to be patient because Allah's the one that's going to help me in this situation, none of you. And so she's not even to defend herself. And then she says, كنت أحقر استحقر نفسي. I used to deem myself so insignificant that I wouldn't think a ayah would be revealed to me. كنت أظن نفسي حقيرة. I thought I was, and they say أظن here means I was certain, because dhanna means to be certain. I was certain that I was haqira. Now think of this in terms of the purity of her heart. Here's a woman, young, beautiful, intelligent, married to the best of creation, and she thinks she's nothing. And that's why they say that Allah defends the people of Iman. And there's a hadith that says, Ya ibn Adam, عندك منزلة عندي ما لم تكن منزلة عند نفسك. You have a place with me as long as you don't have a place with your own self. In other words, I will consider you to be something as long as you don't consider yourself something. And when you consider yourself something, I no longer have consideration for you. And that's what Aisha was. She deemed herself nothing. And she said, I would never think that Allah would mention this issue in the Quran because I was too insignificant. But I was hoping that maybe Allah would show the messenger a vision or something in his dreams that would free me from this. So and this is مَنْ تَوَاضَعَ لِلَّهِ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ. Whoever is humble for the sake of Allah, Allah raises him up. And so, Allah actually completely absolved her, right? Removed any suspicion and any doubt about that in the book of Allah. And then many lessons actually came from this. Right? So let me just... Yeah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and also, and he was right there when it came down. In other words, once she had she didn't defend herself, right? She didn't defend herself. And she actually turned on her side and turned away from them, turning to Allah. It's an amazing event, if you think about all the meanings in that. She turned away from them and said, Allah al-Musta'an. The revelation came right then. Because because that's mutar, that's somebody who's in a state of ittirar. Nowhere to turn but Allah. Right? And that's what if this ummah could just get to that place. Wallahi, if we could just get to that place, everything would change. The whole situation would change. As an ummah, if we could just get to the place where we realize there's nowhere to turn but Allah. There's no, the United Nations aren't going to help you. Kuffar aren't going to help you. Your own governments aren't going to help you. Nobody's going to help you. And that's where she was. Even the Messenger of Allah wasn't helping her at that point. Right? She couldn't even see it from him. She couldn't see it from anybody. She gave up all hope from creation and turned to the Creator. And this, they say, is her annihilation, that she was completely in a state of divine immersion. And look how young she was. And the revelation came down, Surah An-Nur. Right? The revelation came down, revealed right there on that spot. And they saw it happening to the Prophet, because when revelation came, he began to sweat, and the pressure came, and they saw it happening. He was getting the... So, Allah revealed, He said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ جَاءُوا بِالْإِفْكِ عُصْبَةٌ مِّنْكُمْ. Those who have come with ifk is the worst type of lie. Those who have come with this lie are a group from amongst you. لَا تَحْسِبُوهُ شَرًّا لَكُمْ. Don't think this is bad for you. Again, this is the wisdom of understanding that tribulations are for hikmah, for the mu'min. So Allah is saying, don't think this is a bad thing. This is a good thing. عَسَى أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. Look how much you're going to learn. Look how much Aisha learned. All the growth that occurred in this event for her as a human being. And it had to, because of who she is and who she will be and who she becomes. Right? Her position in the ummah and all of the knowledge that she transmits to the ummah. She had to have this experience for her. Right? Because Allah wanted great things for Aisha radiallahu anha. And one of them is that she comes to know Allah absolutely and completely. So don't think these bad things that happen to you are evil. They're not evil. They're not bad things. They're good things because you're mu'mins. بَلْ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. This is a good for you. وَلِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ مَكْتَسَبَ مِنَ الْإِثْمِ. And everyone gets what they have earned from their wrong actions. Right? So everybody's going to get it. وَالَّذِي تَوَلَّى كِبْرَهُ مِنْهُمْ لَهُ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And those who turn away this arrogance and this position turns them away. Right? They will have a painful punishment. لولا إذ سمعتموه ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم خيرا. So when they heard this, the mu'minun and the mu'minat, they immediately believe good. And that's the sign of a mu'min. When you hear bad things that have no substantiation, you think the opposite. وَقَالُوا هَذَا إِفْكٌ مُبِينٌ. When they heard it, they said, this is a clear lie. This is the messenger of Allah's family. This is a clear lie. لَوْلَا جَاءُوا عَلَيْهِ بِأَرْبَعَةِ شُهَدَاءَ. Unless they'd come with 4 witnesses, because now you have proof, and 4. So this is the ayahs that come. So this is part of the teaching that was happening. فَإِذْ لَمْ يَأْتُوا بِالشُّهَدَاءِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْكَاذِبُونَ. If they don't bring witnesses, they're the liars, even if they're telling the truth. You see, even if they're telling the truth, they're lying. In this case, they were lying. But even by Sharia, it says, if you don't have witnesses, shut up and don't say anything. Because the honor of a person is too great to belittle it by even 2 or 3 witnesses, 4 witnesses, to protect and veil the mu'min who's done wrong so that they can make tawbah, and to protect and maintain the dignity of a mu'min who's done no wrong so that foul people in the community cannot detract from their good name. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ لَمَسَّكُمْ فِي مَا أَفَضْتُمْ فِيهِ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Had it not been for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the dunya and the akhirah, you would have been afflicted because of things that you do, right? You would have been afflicted with a painful punishment. In other words, it's Allah's rahmah that He didn't punish you for doing these things. It's His rahmah. So what Allah is telling us is, you can do bad things in the dunya, and there's rahmah in the dunya. And some of you in the akhirah, despite the bad things that you did, will also get rahmah. But it's only by the rahmah of Allah that you are protected from your own evil and your own self. And then إِذْ تَلَقَّوْنَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَتَقُولُونَ بِأَفْوَاهِكُمْ مَا لَيْسَ لَكُمْ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. You تَلَقَّوْنَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ means you're moving it around amongst each other. You're spreading these rumors and news with your tongues, and you're saying with your tongues what you have no knowledge to say. Right? وَتَحْسِبُونَهُ هَيِّنًا وَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمٌ. You think this is some insignificant thing? This is azim with Allah, what you've done. This is an enormity. And this is why there's a hadith that says, one of you will say a word and give it no concern, لَا يُلْقِي لَهَا بَالًا, and it will take you into the fire, 70 years dragging you in the fire. One word, لَا تُلْقِي لَهَا بَالًا. وَلَوْلَا إِذْ سَمِعْتُمُوهُ قُلْتُمْ مَا يَكُونُ لَنَا أَن نَتَكَلَّمَ بِهَذَا سُبْحَانَكَ هَذَا بُهْتَانٌ عَظِيمٌ. And those who had said, they'd heard it, and they said, we have no right to say these things. Subhanallah, this is a buhtan, this is kalamni. يَعِظُكُمُ اللَّهُ أَن تَعُودُوا لِمِثْلِهِ أَبَدًا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah is exhorting you so that you never go back to anything like this again, if you're believers. And this is for the believers, because the believers fell into this, right? Hamna, and Mistah, and Hassan, they were believers and they fell into it. And that there was a wisdom in that to show us also that even the believer can slip. It doesn't have to be a munafiq. It can happen even to good people. They can slip, and so they have to make tawbah and then never return to anything like that again. وَيُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ رَآيَاتِهِ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ. Allah is clarifying for you the signs, and He has knowledge and wisdom in what He does. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُحِبُّونَ أَن تَشِيعَ الْفَاحِشَةُ فِي الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. And those who love that these perversities are spread amongst the believers, like telling lies and telling things about the believers so that it spreads around, they have a painful punishment in this world and the next. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows and you don't know. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. And had it not been, this is the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you, and His mercy, and that Allah is compassionate and merciful. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطَوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. Don't go down his path. He wants you to go down this path and he wants to take you down. Don't follow him down. Stop it when he calls you, because that's what they were doing. They were calling them to go down a path. So when shaitan calls you down that path, refuse to go. I'm not going that path. Right? Don't go down the path of ghiba, namima, bahtan, dissembling. All these things that cause problems in the Muslim community. فَإِنَّهُ يَأْمُرُ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. Because all he's doing is trying to create fahsha, all these horrible things, munkar, all these wrongs amongst you. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ مَا زَكَ مِنْكُمْ مِنْ أَحَدٍ أَبَدًا. And had it not been for the mercy of Allah, none of you would have been pure. The mercy of Allah that even some of you are innocent and pure, like Aisha radiallahu anha. So recognize it's the rahmah of Allah. So don't go accusing other people, because who amongst you, right? And this is similar to this idea also of the story with Isa alayhi salam. Allahu alam whether it's true or not, but they came accusing this woman of adultery. And they said, what do you say? They wanted to get him, and he wrote something in the sand, right? And then they say, what do you say? Because they were trying, and he said, who amongst you has no sin? He said, how do you deal with an adulterer? They say, we stone her. And he said, then who amongst you has no sin? Let him who has no sin, let them throw the first stone. And then he went down, wrote something, and then he looked up and they were all gone. He said, then, where's your condemner? She said, they've all gone. He said, then I'm not going to condemn you. Right? In other words, think about, you're throwing stones at people. You're calling Aisha, saying that she's done something wrong. What about you? You have no proof. So you're accusing this innocent person. What about you? And look to yourself. And this is what Allah is saying. Look to yourself before you.
When you talk about it, is that include countries and stuff like that? Because you often hear people talking about countries, about groups of people, about stuff like that. Is this specifically talking about individuals?
That's a good point, and I personally, I've given that a lot of thought. In fact, I mentioned that the other night about just being very dangerous because people do spread things, even about like rulers, things that they don't know, like, that some ruler's a homosexual, or he's this, or he's that, and really, these type things, people have hurma, they have sanctity, even bad people. You can't say what you don't know about people. And so a lot of things, I think, would go under that category. Obviously, injustices have to be condemned, and so you have to look at the maslaha, mafsada. You have to look at the balance. What's useful? What's not? There's more harm in it or less harm? So one of the things about the unfortunate condition is that what a lot of us have done. I'm certainly guilty of this as well. What a lot of us have fallen into is, even amongst the non-Muslims, condemning the countries, our countries, and the Muslims, and this and that. And this, in a sense, is a type of, there was an organization, I think, that were trying to bring this quote-unquote awareness of domestic violence amongst the Muslim community in America. And that is a problem, right? But that's not really something, that's what we would call dirty laundry. And that's not really something that you want to go and hang out for all the non-Muslims to see. In other words, we have problems within our communities that we should keep to ourselves and work with them in ourselves. But to put out statistics and information and give non-Muslims access to these type of things to use against us, this is a type of thing of spreading malicious rumors and things about the Muslims, and so I think it's a really problematic situation, and there's a lot of serious things that should be considered here in all of this, and then it says, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يُزَكِّي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Allah purifies whoever He wants, and Allah hears and knows all things. Now, look at Aisha again, radiallahu anhu. When this revelation came down, the first thing that the Prophet ﷺ said, he didn't say the words. He told her, he laughed actually. Bahika. It says that he actually laughed. And he said, Ya Aisha, Allah has given you bara'ah. And one of the wisdoms of that is, the ulama say, is that when you give somebody either extremely good news or extremely bad news, you should prepare them first, because it might be too much. So had he actually given her the verses initially, that there was verses revealed about her, it might have been too much for her. And the same thing, this is why they say if you give bad news, you should say something like, could you sit down? I need to say something. You prepare them, so it's not a complete shock. And so the Prophet ﷺ told her that, and then Abu Bakr, Roman, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, they said, Qumi washkuri Rasulullah, get up and thank the Messenger of Allah. She said, La wallah, la ashkuru illallah. She said, I'm not giving thanks to anybody but Allah. Huwa alladhi barra'ani. And this, they say, she wasn't in a state where she could see asbab anymore. All she could see was musabbib. She couldn't even see the Messenger of Allah. She could just see the asbab. And this is why Ibn Mashis has a beautiful dua, and in it he says, وَانْشُلْنِي مِنْ أَوْحَادِ التَّوْحِيدِ, protect me from the dangers of Tawheed. And one of the dangers of Tawheed is going into such a state of immersion in the Divine Presence that you lose sight of the asbab. And you can't see the Messenger, you can't see and that, for her it was a moment. But the danger of something like that is to get lost in that, and actually it leads to a type of kufr. And this is what happened to somebody like Mansur al-Hallaj. Right? Yeah, Mansur al-Hallaj. You see, that's something, you don't want to go into that state of where he couldn't see anything, and so he starts saying things like, he's the truth. And that it leads to kufr, to be in that state. Whereas to have that as an experience is actually, it's an experience that occurs to individuals, but it's a momentary experience, right? So that they don't lose sight of the asbab, because the asbab are part of Allah's creation. Now another thing that happens is when Abu Bakr hears this, he swears that he will never help Mistah again. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, وَلَا يَأْتَرِي أُولِي الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ أَنْ يُؤْتُوا أُولِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. That don't let those who are of good virtue from you and wealth, don't let something stop them from giving to their relatives, because he was a relative and he was poor, and the masakin, wal muhajirin, and he was a muhajir and he was a badri, fi sabilillah. Wal ya'fu, let them forgive them. Wal yasfahu, and let them overlook them. Ala tuhibbuna an yaghfir Allahu lakum. Don't you want Allah to do that with you? In other words, you're doing wrong. He did a wrong and he made tawbah, and he was given had punishment. So he had 80 lashes. Hamna, the three of them had 80 lashes. Hamna, Hassan ibn Thabit, and Mistah ibn Uthatha. All three got 80 lashes. So they were purified now. And so Abu Bakr thought, and he swore that he would continue, and he did continue to help him. And this is a sign also that there was no nafs there. Abu Bakr, there's no halv of his nafs. Because this was somebody who said something about his own daughter. And so you can imagine just, it would enrage anybody. And this is why they say, actually, this is a proof of his siddiqiyah. Because to say something about somebody's children is worse than saying it about them themselves. They'll be more angry at you